Hey YouTube, it's ICU and welcome to the 37th episode of Best Tech Info and Rumors. To start off, I want to preface this episode by saying it's going to be a little bit shorter than normal because there hasn't been a lot of interesting tech news in the past 2 days. First, I want to talk about Google. The CEO of Google, Larry Page, actually announced today that they purchased Motorola for a staggering $12.5 billion. Now, they did this to quote-unquote supercharge Android because they think that if they can build the hardware and the software for their devices, then they can make more money and they can do it better. And this is probably to compete with Apple more because Apple has been doing this since the release of the original iPhone. Now, with that said, Google will still allow other manufacturers such as HTC to use Android on their devices. And they also said with the acquisition of Motorola, it will function as a separate company, but it will still be run by Google. Moving on, German officials seized iPhone 5s on July 21st. Now, this story was recently made available to the public, and the German officials are working with Apple to determine the legitimacy and the origin of these iPhone 5s. Now, they believe that they're fake. However, they probably wanted to make sure that the two men racked up as many charges as possible. In other news, Apple was extremely close to releasing a 3G compatible MacBook Pro. Now, the 2007 prototype actually went up on eBay just the other day, and in an interview with USA Today, Steve Jobs said that they didn't release the 3G compatible MacBook Pro because they didn't want their users to feel like they were locked into one specific carrier. Now, that's kind of ironic when you think about the iPhone and its history. From 2007 until earlier this year, the iPhone has been exclusively available through AT&T, but as I'm sure all of you know, it is now available on Verizon. So again, he probably just said that for other reasons. They probably just couldn't get it to work right, or they probably figured that there wasn't really that big of a demand for a 3G compatible MacBook Pro. Apple has also increased iPhone production orders for the second half of 2011 from a total of 50 million units to 56 million units. Now, this includes the unreleased iPhone 5, the iPhone 4, both GSM and CDMA models, as well as the iPhone 3GS. And what's interesting is that Apple decreased the initial iPhone 5 production order from around 10 million units to about 5.5 or 6 million units, but they increased iPhone 5 production orders for the fourth quarter of 2011 from a total of 14 million units to 20 million units. And they probably did this because they realized that not as many people would buy it initially, but once all the media outlets started talking it up, then people would be more interested in it and the vast majority of people would start purchasing it then. And finally, it appears that Apple is testing the iPhone on a 4G LTE network, and in short, a plist was discovered inside of an internal testing build of iOS that contains a line of code that points to the fact that they're testing the iPhone on a 4G LTE network, and it said that they're using one of their major carrier partners for this 4G LTE iPhone prototype. Now, while this is good news, this doesn't necessarily mean that the iPhone 5 or iPhone 4S will be 4G compatible. It just means that they're testing it and that a 4G LTE compatible iPhone will definitely be created in the foreseeable future. So that's it for this episode. I hope you guys liked it. Please remember to rate it up, hit that subscribe button if you want to be notified every time I release a new video. And for the question of the day, let me know down below in the comment section, what do you guys think about Google's purchase of Motorola? Do you think it's a good idea? Do you think that they should have just created their own hardware without actually purchasing a company that already does that? And do you guys think that this will affect iPhone sales at all? I will also have links to everything I talked about in today's episode down below, as well as links to my Facebook page and Twitter accounts. Be sure to like my Facebook page and follow my Twitter accounts to be updated more often. And until next time, this is ICU signing out.